Brandon. Okay, hello everyone. Hi, Lewis. Okay, we are beginning on Daf Chav Zayin Omid Beis. 2 lines from the bottom. It's a very small daf today. Okay, it's very small daf. So
Okay.
we're talking about Gilgal Shvua, which means the Mishnah said that sometimes there's a halacha like this. Let's say somebody comes to me and says, I gave you 2 pieces of jewelry to watch. And I said to him, listen, you only gave me 1 piece of jewelry. You only gave me 1 piece, not 2 pieces. So I'm called a moide b'miktzas. I agree partially, and therefore I'm chayiv in a shvua. So our Mishnah says, since the subject is metaltalin, movable items, once I'm a chayiv in a shvua on a movable item, I can, the plaintiff, come over and make me swear on karka, on something that he has a claim against me regarding land, regarding karka. So normally, there's no shvua, there's no claim that would make me swear if the subject of the dispute is real estate. However, if the subject of the dispute is metaltalin, movable items, and I'm required to swear, so the Mishnah says that you're megalgalin shvua. Once I'm swearing because of the movable items, once I'm swearing because of the jewelry, I'm going to swear also because of the real estate. Where do you find such a concept? So this is where we ended. The concept is by a soita. The husband says, I accuse you having an affair with that man. So the pasuk says that she has to swear amen v'amen, right? So she swears that not only did she not have an affair with this man, but she has to swear also that she didn't have an affair with any man, even though that was not the subject. But once she's swearing, we include other possibilities. Did you have an affair before we got married, while you were in Arusa, or is it with this person or with another person? So we find that concept of Gilgal Shvua, that once you swear on something, you can swear, will make you swear on something you would normally not swear on, but once you're swearing, we tack on another shvua. So, and that concept is by soita. So the Gemara says, Ashkechan soita de isura. I understand that soita in the Chumash, it says that soita, that's why you megalgal and shvua. You tack on another shvua. But how do you know you apply that same concept by mamanis when it's a civil dispute? Here, let's say a civil dispute, which means that the dispute is regarding a movable item, like the jewelry in my example. How do you know, would I extend, once I'm swearing because of the jewelry, you can force me, my plaintiff can force me to swear on another claim that he has against me regarding real estate. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Shmuel answers kal v'chomer. It's a kal v'chomer. Since it works by soita, it will work in a civil case. Uma soita, just like soita. We go to top of Chavches Amar Aleph. Soita, the whole concept of soita, what makes a soita is that there were 2 people that saw this woman seclude herself with the man that she's subject to having an affair with, right? 2 people. If there was 1 person that saw, it doesn't work, because it says davar, it has to be 2 people. So there's no such a thing of concept of 1 witness by soita. And there we say the concept megalgalim. You tack on shvuas. If once she's swearing on this man, she swears that she didn't have an affair with any man. So mamain, when it comes to civil disputes, sometimes you could be forced to swear even if there's 1 aid. For example, if my plaintiff came to me and said, I owe a money, and I deny it, and 1 witness says that I owe him a money, so if it's just 1 witness, I don't have to write it, take out money and pay him, but I have to swear. So as the pasuk says, that 1 witness doesn't make you pay, but you do have to swear. So in a certain way, civil cases, monetary cases, are more stricter than soita cases. So therefore, Einadin, certainly Shemagalgalin, that you'll have the concept of tacking on shvuas apply also by a monetary case. Says the Gemara, okay, Ashkecham b'vadai. If the plaintiff had certain claims against me. That means he was so certain in his complaints against me. Then once I'm swearing on the movable items, let's say the jewelry, I will have to swear on the karka, on the real estate. But safik manolam, let's say if he's not sure about the complaint against me, let's say the question is that we were partners, and he wants me to swear that as a tack on shvuah that I never ripped him off while we were partners. So he's not sure if I stole anything. He just wants me to swear that I didn't rip him off when he was a partner of mine. How do I know I would tack on a shvuah in that case as well? Now, once I'm swearing about the jewelry, then I could swear also that I swear that when we were partners, I never ripped you off. How do you know that? That would be also a good, valid tack on to a shvuah. Tanya, we learned to the Brisa, Reb Shimon ben Yochai says, Namra shvuah b'chutz. It says the concept of taking an oath outside the Beis Hamikdash, which is a monetary case. Most monetary cases are decided outside the Beis Hamikdash. The Namra shvuah, and it says an oath that you have to take when you're inside the Beis Hamikdash. That's the Saita. The Sma shvuah ha'amura b'fnim, just like the oath that the woman takes, which is said in the Beis Hamikdash, also b'safik kavadai. We find that they made a suffix like a vadai. In other words, that when she is, we don't know if she had an affair with this person or she actually had relations with that person. We tack on an oath that she has to swear that she didn't have an affair with this person or any other person. So av shvuah ha'amur b'chutz. So also the oath that's taken outside the Beis Hamikdash, also b'safik kavadai. Just like a for sure shvuah, if he for sure has a claim against me, you tack on such a shvuah. Even if he has a doubt claim against me, which means he just wants me to swear that I never ripped him off when we were partners, he just doesn't have a specific claim, I'd still have to swear called Gilgal Shvuah. Okay, so to review, Gilgal Shvuah means once I am swearing on something that I have to swear on, for example, the case of the jewelry, on movable items, the plaintiff can make me swear on something that I normally would not be swearing on, which is karka, and also he can make me swear in a certain situation that he can make me swear that even if he has no claim against me, he can make me swear as a tack on shvuah to say that when we were partners many years ago, I didn't steal anything from him. So that's the Gemara about Gilgal Shvuah. Now the Gemara says, Ad heichen Gilgal Shvuah. What's the limits of Gilgal Shvuah? In other words, could he make me swear that to what limit can he make me swear? Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav. Rav Yehuda Amar Rav said, the Amalei, he can make me swear, he shavali, that I should swear, Shein Avdiata, that I'm not his slave. I'm not his Evet Knaini. So he can make me swear anything, basically. That's what Rav Yehuda Amar Rav says. Not only once I'm swearing because I'm swearing that I don't have his jewelry, I could have to, if he wants me to swear that I'm not his Evet Knaini, I'm not his slave, I have to swear that. So the Gemara asked the question, what do you mean? If he thinks I'm his Evet Knaini and he wants me to swear that I'm not his Goyish slave, so basically he's calling me a Goyish slave, right? Just for the sake of it, he's spiting me because he's trusting me basically that I could make a shvuah. I'm a Jew. I can make a shvuah that I didn't take his jewelry. Now he wants to make me swear that I'm not his goyish, his Evet Kanani, and that I'm totally belong to him. If somebody calls you an Evet Kanani for a spiteful reason, shemute mishamtin alei, then Bezdin will put him into cherem. You can't just call somebody, hey, go over to somebody in shul and say, you're my goyish slave. The Tanya, we learned in the Brisa, someone who calls his friend, the guy goes into shul and says to his friend, Eved, you are my slave. So basically, he's putting such a bad name against it. He's telling him he's not even Jewish, he's a goy, and he's a slave to me. So Yehei Benidoi, Bezdin will put the person who called somebody a slave into cherem. Let's say you call somebody a mamzer, okay? You call the president of the shul, no, but you call somebody a mamzer. So the din is, you can't just shoot names at people. Soifig es huarboim, Bezdin will actually give you malchus. Of course, it's a Rabbanan Malkus, because basically you're saying he's a mamzer, and you're trying to say that his marriage is in sin, and he's over alab. So basically, you're trying to say that he's Chayiv Malkus for staying married to a Jew. And if it's not true, then they give you Malkus. Rasha, if you call somebody a Rasha, Yored Ima Lechayev. The din is that normally, if somebody calls you a Rasha, you can't, revenge him, but you can, not to support him, convince other people not to do business with that person. That's the way to do it. You try to hurt him financially as best as you can. But anyway, we see that you can't just call somebody an Eved. So the question that the Gemara is asking over here is, how is it that when I am required to make a shvuah that on a movable item, saying that he only gave me one piece of jewelry, he can say to me that I have to swear that I'm not his Evet Kanaini. He's calling me, if he calls me an Evet Kanaini and he gets it wrong, he's going to be in Cherem. And it's ridiculous to say that I'm an Evet Kanaini. Rava explained what Rav Yehuda Marav meant to say. That you could swear, he can make me swear, he shavali, that I should swear, that I was never sold to him as an Evet Ivri. So once I'm swearing on the jewelry, I have to swear that I was never sold to him as a Jewish slave, which means a Jewish slave is like a 6-year employee by him. So therefore, I owe him to work for him because he paid for my services. So, Frank the Gemara, if that's his claim against me, that is a valid claim, and I should require to swear. I owe him money, because in order for him to have me as his Jewish slave, he must have paid me money. So that is a regular claim of a monetary claim on a movable item. That's me. So of course, once I'm swearing on the jewelry, I have to swear that I'm not his Jewish slave. Answers the Gemara, Rava L'tamei. Rava holds differently. The Amar Rava says, Eved Ivri Gufoy Kani. The Jewish slave is not just like a monetary claim. Actually, my whole body is owned by the master. And therefore, it's really, he has a claim of a non-movable item, because now my whole essence belongs to that person. And I have to swear that I'm not his Eved Ivri. So now we see that you can have Gilgal Shvuah. He can make Gilgal Shvuah on property, and he could also make me Gilgal Shvuah on my status as him being his Jewish slave. Hainu Karka. Isn't that the same thing as Karka? Why shouldn't you have to swear that I'm not his Eved Ivri? Why shouldn't I have to swear that I'm not his Eved Ivri? Just like I have to swear any claims that he has against me regarding real estate, I should be able to swear that against any claims that he has against me, that I'm his Eved Ivri. Answers the Gemara, Ma'u the same. I would have thought Karka huda of the inshidim zavne betzina. The Karka, normal people, when they're selling real estate, they sell it very privately. Because why do people sell real estate privately? Because they don't want you to know that they're desperate for money. So when you hear people selling off, their vacation home, something's up financially. So people sell it out quietly. So im isa dezabin, if it's true that the land was sold, leis lekola, nobody's going to know about it. So therefore, once I'm required to swear a claim against me regarding movable items like the jewelry, so I'll have to swear regarding a claim against me, real estate. But me selling himself like an Eved Ivri, im isa dezabin, if I was true that I sold myself as an Eved Ivri to the plaintiff, Kali Islay, everybody would know about it, because it's very public. It's a public affair, and therefore, since nobody knows about it, I would think that I'm not required to do Gilgal Shvuah, since nobody knows about it but him. So I would say Gilgal Shvuah will not apply to the extent that I have to swear that I'm not his Eved Ivri. Kamash Malam, that I have to swear that I'm not his Eved Ivri. So again, we learned the concept of Gilgal Shvuah, that once I'm required to swear for metaltalim, a movable item, I could be required to swear for real estate. I could also be required to swear that I'm not his Eved Ivri. New Mishnah, bottom of Chavches Amar Aleph. So the Mishnah says, Kol hanaseh bedamin. In other words, let's say, we learned in the Sefer Rus that Boaz purchased from Rus the land that Rus was selling. Rus and Nami was selling a piece of property. Now, he didn't pay it with money. How did he purchase it? He gave Rus a shoe. The Torah, the Rus, describes that he gave a shoe to Nami and Rus, and by giving a shoe, Nami and Rus sold Boaz the property, albeit the condition was that he has to marry Rus. Okay, so that is called kinyan chalipin, where you're actually not purchasing the money by laying out cash, but you're actually giving the seller an item of value, usually like a vessel, and in exchange of that, that person is selling you the piece of land, and the money is like an IOU. You'll eventually pay him. So the Mishnah says like this: Kol hanase domim ba'acha, anything that has to that is a transaction that concerns money, and you're doing it with somebody else. So let's say I am buying his animal. Okay, he's selling me his animal, his shar. So, and I give him Kaven. So if the Mishnah, it seems to say, is that if I give him, instead of pay, let's say his animal's worth $1,000, and I give him a $5 bill, right? And use it not to pay for the animal, but use it as chalipim. Once I give that $5 bill, so Kaven Shazachazah, since he accepted the $5 bill, this chayiv zeh b'chalifav, that I am what becomes the transaction is valid, and whatever is going to happen to the barter exchange, whatever is going to happen to the animal, I'm responsible for, because the transaction is effective. I now own this animal, albeit I have to pay him the balance of what I owe him. But that's how I effectuated the change, by giving him a little cash, and he gave me the animal. Let's say you're exchanging an ox for a cow. So what does the Mishnah say? The kaven. So let's say we're exchanging each other. Kaven shezachazah. Let's say you're exchanging an ox for a cow. So once the person who wants the ox takes a hold of the ox, right? This chayiv zeh b'chalifav, then the other one automatically owns the cow without even doing a kinyan on the cow, because once the one side of the transaction was accomplished, it automatically affects the other side of the transaction, and the sale is complete. So the Gemara asks the question: Chalipim manihu. How did you do this exchange of chalipim? Matbeya, with a coin. I gave, let's say, a $5 bill to somebody, and he's giving me his animal. Shmami no matbeya nasa chalipim. So from here you can see that using a $5 bill can effectuate the transaction called chalipim. But that doesn't fit in with the pasuk. If you remember the pasuk in Rus, it says that Boaz gave a shoe to Rus. So maybe it's only with a shoe this idea of chalipim works, not with a coin, and maybe not even with an apple. It has to be a shoe. So how do you read the Mishnah if you hold that you can't use coins or a currency for chalipim? Rabbi Yehuda explained, this is what it meant to say. Kol hanishim domim ba'acha. Anything that has value. In other words, anything that you need to estimate what it's worth, so it's not a currency, but it's actually a movable item. We go to Amid Beis, Chavches Amid Beis. Kevin Shazachazan is chayav b'chalipin. As soon as one side of the transaction was completed, the other one is obligated to, the other one now owns the barter exchange. So what the Mishnah is saying is that even if it wasn't a keli, that's the concept of chalipin is written in the Tanakh by Rus. But what the Mishnah is telling you that yes, you cannot use money as a currency, as using currency as the part of the chalipin transaction, but you can use something that's not like a shoe, which is a usable item. You can use an animal. How about an animal? That's what the Mishnah is saying. Since an animal has value to it, it can be used as a barter exchange called chalipin. Economy, that's proof. The Ketani, the Brights, the Mishnah uses that example. Hechlef shar b'para. We want to barter exchange my ox for a cow, or chamor b'shar, or donkey for a ox. So we exchange each other. Once one took the ox, then the cow is automatically sold. One took the donkey, the ox is automatically sold. It doesn't matter, but the chalipin happened not with a vessel, not with currency exchange, but actual exchange of item. Now the Gemara asks, When you originally thought that you can use currency as chalipin, you can use a $5 bill as chalipin. That means I give $5 to somebody, and he gives me his $1,000 animal, even without me making a kinyan on the animal. As soon as he got my $5, that chalipin happened. So my ketzad, then what? How would you read the Mishnah when the Mishnah uses an example, doesn't mention the word money? It uses the example of exchanging an ox for a cow. So the Gemara says, the Mishnah is teaching you two things. Number one, money can work as chalipin, and the number two thing is peris nami of the chalipin. That you don't have to use a vessel. You could use an ox as the chalipin. You don't have to use a shoe. Ketzad. What's the case? Hechlif, we'll skip this word basar. Hechlif shar b'par, if you exchange an ox for a cow, or basar chamar b'shar, so you're exchanging not shoes, that also works. One guy one guy acquired this chay b'chlipim, the other one now takes responsibility of the exchange. So now that has a nice, beautiful way to learn pshat in the Mishnah. But what you do learn pshat in the Mishnah is that really you can't use currency. However, you can use peiros. You can use something that's not a shoe, which is real chiddush because the Rus thing was the use of a shoe. But that's what it says. So the Gemara asks this question, and this will take us another 2 minutes. And now you have a way to learn our Mishnah according to Rav Sheshes, who holds that you can use fruits as chalipim. So let's say I want to buy a $1,000 animal. I'll give the seller an apple, and he's going to give me, in exchange for my apple, the animal. Of course, I'm going to pay him the money, but the exchange happens. So if something would happen to that animal, it's my responsibility. And that's pshat in the Mishnah. But Rab Nachman, according to Rab Nachman, the Amma, Paris, Paris, you can't use chalipin for Paris. My ikal meima, how are you going to learn pshat in our Mishnah? So how do you learn pshat in the Mishnah? Not only in the Havamina. So the Mishnah is saying like this. So according to Rab Nachman, the Mishnah is gonna have another pshat. Not another pshat, but you could say in the Havamina like this: Hachikama yesh domem shenke chalipin. Sometimes that you're using the king in kesef, but it sounds like chalipin. Now, how could you use kesef and it sounds like chalipin? You can't use giving the money straight. So the ketzad, what would the pshat in the Mishnah mean? Hechlif demei shor b'par. What the Mishnah is teaching you, let's say I exchanged the value of the ox with a cow. What does that mean? It means like this. That if a guy's selling me a shar and for a mana, $10,000, and I made mashich on that shar, I brought that shar into my property. Now I owe him the mana. So the seller says to me, I have a cow, which is me. So I say yes, and it's worth it's worth a mana, yes. So what the seller says to me, I should not pay him the money that I owe him, but rather use that as payment for the cow that he wants me to give him. So even if he didn't so he's basically paying for my cow with money, but it's like a chalipim. But in that case, it would work because really he's buying it with the money that I owe him. Instead of me paying him $1,000 and then he giving me back the $1,000 so he can have my cow, he's saying to me, I shouldn't pay him. Use the $1,000 that I owe him and as his kesef kinyan, as his purchase of my cow. And that could work. Why? It's like similar. It looks like chalipin, but really it's kesef. My tama, what's the reason? Because he holds like Rabbi Yochanan. The Amma Dvar Torah Mois Koinus. Really, to buy a cow, kesef, the king in kesef works. As soon as the seller gets his cash, the sale is done. So my tama Amma Mashiach, then why did they require that if you're buying a cow, you have to bring the cow to your property or do mashicha on the cow, draw the cow towards you? Why? Gezerah, because it's Gezerah. Shem Yermeloi Nisr Chitecha Baliyah. If let's say you're buying wheat, and if money, just by the money alone, effectuates the transaction, then what's going to happen is that seller is, as soon as he gets his money, he's not going to care for the item. And let's say there's a fire, he's going to say, it's not my item anyway. So he'll let it burn. So like this, we say, as long as the wheat is still in your possession, the Rabbanan said the sale is not effective, even though Minatayr it is, unless the guy did Mashicha. But so that means, so therefore the Tchumim were frowned upon using kesef as a kinyan for metal, for movable items. So milsa de shchiach, some common transactions, does a rabbanon. The rabbanon said, don't use kesef, use mashicha. Milsa de loy shchiach, but this is an uncommon case where I owe the person money, and he's saying instead of paying you back, I should use the $1,000 that I owe him, and he can and use it to pay for the cow, my cow that I'm going to sell to him. So in that case, as soon as I say I agree, then that's it. Even if he didn't do mashicha, he owns my cow. And like goes Rabbanan, the Rabbanan didn't make a gezerah that he has to do mashicha, and automatically the cow belongs to him. So again, let's just review, and then we'll just finish off one more line. The review is that either the Mishnah is talking about a chalipin exchange, and the Mishnah is teaching you that fruits, according to Rav Shei, says is usable for chalipin. You don't have to use a shoe; you can use an ox as part of the chalipin. Or the Mishnah is a kesef exchange. That's what the Mishnah is telling you, a kesef exchange. But normally a kesef exchange for a movable item, you have to do mashicha. In this case, since it's an uncommon case where there was no transaction of money, but rather I owe somebody money, and he says, use that to pay for an item, that's enough to effectuate a change, even without mashicha, according to this, the way Rab Nachman. So that is the Gemara. If Rab Nachman learned like that, if Rab Nachman learned like Rish Lakish, Da'ama Mashicha Mufreshes B'Torah, that really you can't, Kesef never effectuates an exchange on a movable item. You have to do Mashicha. Because Rab Shlakish says, the Chumash says, if it's a movable item, you need to take the movable item and move it to the purchaser's hands. It's not enough a transaction of money. Mashicha is explicit in the Torah that in order to buy a movable item, such as a cow, the cow has to be brought over to my property. So if Rab Yochanan held like if Rab Nachman held like Rish Lakish, then you need Mashicha. So then you have a mahalach to the Mishnah. Hanicha would be very good, and Rab Nachman would be very good. Isavala Rav Sheshes, Dama Paris of the Chalipim, but Paretz Rav Sheshes. Then he could say the Mishnah goes according to Rav Sheshes. That really the Mishnah is not talking about money kinyan. It's talking about a Chalipin kinyan, and he'll learn the Mishnah like Rav Sheshes that it's a Chalipin transaction. The Mishnah's chiddush is that you don't need to use a shoe; you could use Paris. But finally, Ella Isava Lak Rab Nachman. If Rish Lakish holds like Rab Nachman, the Amma who said Paris le'av the Chalipim, Paris he can't do Chalipim. Umatbeya loikani, and Matbeya doesn't work. But my Michael, how are you going to read the Mishnah? The Mishnah Paris is not good because a good use of Chalipim, and you can't use currency as Chalipim, and you can't sign this Mishnah that it's talking about a type of kinyan of Kesef, if he held like Rav Nachman. Ella, so as the Gemara concludes, Ella kocha k'Rav Sheshes virule. Rish Lakish held like Rav Sheshes that really the Mishnah is discussing chalipin, and chalipin can be done with peiros, with fruits. You don't have to necessarily do a shoe, but what the Gemara did finish off and say that money as chalipin, using money as part of a chalipin barter exchange, that's not good. Okay. We Be'ez Hashem ended this daf.